I mean, I couldn't wait. Sorry, it's Romania Black, and yeah, after episode 11 of Gachiakuta, I'm like, I'm not waiting. I did wait, to be fair. I did wait until episode 9 had came out on YouTube and episode 10 had came out on Patreon. So I did wait a little bit because I wanted to check on the comments. But otherwise, no, I was like, I have to find out. I have to find out how Zanka and then our new giver that's about to give off what his vital instrument is, how they are going to battle not only Rio, not only Delman, but also Rudo as well. Like, how's that going to work? Amo is... These villains are proven to be a little bit sinister and a little bit tricksy. So I'm curious to see what we get with Amo and the fight that we have in this episode, and to see if it gets concluded this episode or if we carry it over and it's a 3-parter. We're gonna see. It feels like a lot to wrap up in one episode, but there at least has to be aftermath, so maybe that'll be the following episode. I don't know. We'll see. But I do want to talk about some comments before we begin. Bad smile, sorry, so cativo. I think I got that right. For episode 9. They pointed this out. They were like, they said that Rimlin is sort of non-binary. The mangaka never explicitly exposes their gender, and some people were saying their gender is unknown, and I was like, well, I haven't known what pronoun to use for Rimlin because I'm like, I don't know what to use. And so Truck, they popped in the Discord over on my Patreon, and they were like, hey, can I share a cover of a chapter that correlates with episode 10 from the manga, if that will help? And I was like, honestly, I don't think I'm going to react to the manga, so I was like, yeah, that seems fine. So they shared this image from a chapter title, which features Rimlin looking very doll-like. The illustration style is wild. I love it. But see that little blue tag? So they were saying that there is an alphabet in the world that, you know, Rudo and all of them are in on the ground versus the sphere, and that there is a card there in blue. And when you translate the dialogue on the card, it says boy question mark, girl question mark, but it doesn't ever specify which one. So if you want to say that the gender is unknown, fine. I would personally use the phrase non-binary in this translation because that means they don't identify as either gender. They're non-binary or they're gender fluid, or I would say non-binary because they don't exactly ascribe to a specific gender. I feel like gender unknown makes them seem less a person, and that's kind of weird to me. So maybe it's more clinical, but I just kind of prefer non-binary. So yeah, Rimlin's non-binary. Sweet. Love that. Good for them. So yeah. So they, them's going to be their pronouns as far as we are concerned, which is awesome. Cool. Get some representation in the series. Rimlin's amazing. Rimlin is one of my favorite characters in the whole show. Love them. Love their ability. Love all the themes of grief and loss and celebration of life. I'm just like, mwah. I'm all here for it. So thank you, Truck, and thank you, Bad Smile, for helping to clarify that as we move forward. Because I'm sure we're going to see Rimlin again because Gob was always over at the HQ for the cleaners. So I have a feeling Rimlin will be showing up. Rast, for episode 10, pointed out two kind of things I wanted to talk about before diving into this episode specifically. Rast for episode 10 says, I wonder if Rio picked up some moves from Engine. They both did the crazy high jump and then the downward stab. I could see that because not only has Engine kind of been, you know, mentoring Zanka, Rio, Rudo, he's got his own little foster child system going on, but also her vital instrument, the scissors, they're kind of like have a same kind of construction as the umbrella when it's folded up. So I could see that. I could see the jabbing the scissors, jabbing the umbrella, the movement similar. I'm sure that Engine trained Rio and that they both fight similarly because of that. Rast also says, when Rimlin said one hit, I thought the tattoo would activate, but then just be a normal tattoo afterwards. I could be wrong though. I hadn't thought about that. But that's kind of a wild thing. Like, what if it is a tattoo that's going to be on Rudo? In my mind, I was imagining that it was a tattoo that once he was hit and had the one hit, which hasn't happened yet. He's not had the one hit. So that's still, keep that in the back burner. It's going to happen this episode. But I'm sure it will. But in my mind, once they got hit and the tattoo is no longer effective, I figured it would like wash off or like sweat away or something and it wouldn't be permanent. But it would kind of be cool if it was a permanent tattoo and just the one hit thing just did once and then it was done, which led me to believe, like, all of Injin's tattoos that are all over him, what if those tattoos were like talismans and protection charms that Gob had tattooed onto Injin's skin before he went out into battle, and that just adds to my Injin and Gob shipping. And I was just like, oh, the possibilities, the fan fiction. I need confirmation of this. Show, give me confirmation that Injin's tattoos were tattooed on by Gob. I need to know this. But anyway, so that's awesome. So thank you, Rast. And then finally, No Cover said the 3R for Rudo's gloves stand for reduce, reuse, and recycle, which I was like, of course. I debated on whether recycle was one of the R's. I'm like, that would make sense, but I couldn't remember what the slogan was. And yep, reduce, reuse, recycle. But they pointed out, and I thought this was pretty cool, I'm not sure if it's intended, but in my mind, Rudo's powers are kind of the exact opposite. He recycles the object into something else, he reuses it for its true purpose, and then it's reduced to ashes. And I'm like, that's so genius. I love that. I love it to pieces. That's amazing. Very clever. I'm all about when the show is clever. So, okay, we need to get into episode 12, y'all. This is going to be the halfway point of the series for season 1, and I'm so excited. So with that being said, let's get to this halfway point because I've wasted enough time. Thank you all so much for your comments and your kind words. I'm excited to get into this episode. I hope you all enjoy it, but we're going to start episode 12 of Gachiakuta, and we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1. Oh, buddy, let's go. Whoo, well, this was an episode. Oh man, I really liked this episode. I really liked Tamsy. I'm glad they reminded us his name. I struggle with Tamsy's name so much. Like Delman, I'm like, okay, great. But Tamsy, I was like, he doesn't look like a Tamsy. And that's a weird thing to say because that's literally his character name. But I'm just like, he just doesn't look like a Tamsy. And so what a great episode. Oh, I want to dive right into it because there is a lot to talk about and I just want to get into, I am sad that we don't get to see everybody's, like, what their visions show, but I feel like there's a reason for that. So here in 3, 2, 1, we start out with Delman with his view of his, we believe it was his wife or his girlfriend or his partner. She's dead, so that sucks. But there's her with, like, the tulip. They remind me a lot of, if you've ever watched Full Metal Alchemist, there's a couple that's pretty revealed pretty early on in that film and in that series, and they remind me of them, especially the way that her hair looks and how he looks. I feel like the mangaka based these two off of the couple from Full Metal Alchemist. I believe so. But they have, like, this cute little farmhouse, and they have, like, the little stakes in the garden to keep the rabbits and stuff away, and there's, like, a bat and a rabbit and a fox and a dog, and then he's, like, watering the garden. It's so sweet, and that makes it even more heartbreaking because now you see, like, why he has the garden hose, because the garden hose reminds him of his wife and reminds him of it being, like, that happy home they had together that apparently something came and trashed. That is one thing that's not been talked about is we see these bandits that show up, so we don't know, like, is there, like, an authority system on the ground, or is it, like, just the cleaners and the raiders? Were these guys that came to their house raiders? Were these guys that came to their house just robbers and she ended up dying in the scuffle? Like, we don't know the full story, but you know enough to determine that he lost her. And so the hose is, like, his only connection back to her, and that's why it's his vital instrument. And it's really sad. Like, especially before you see the hat, like, you go up there, and here's the thing, the hat was hers. That's the thing. Like, you see him, he's got, like, the crazy eyebrows that go all the way around, and, like, the tattooed on beard, or the beard there. And then you see her, he's like, let's cover the whole house in flowers. The hat is hers. The fact that he carries the garden hose and her hat. Oh, Delman, you sweet, sweet man. My heart goes out to him. I feel so much for him. And losing her, it's so sad. But anyway, so that's how Amo's tricking him by convincing him that she's the wife. And so we see that. And then Rudo thinks that she's Chiwa and that Zanka and Tamsy are the guys from the sphere. And the crazy thing is, it's not so much that Rudo wants to save Chiwa, it's that he's mad at the guys from the sphere. So there's that. And then also we have, she doesn't even recognize who Rio is. So that's a thing. Well, I'm very sad we don't get to see Rio and Folo and who their beloveds were. Here's the thing. We see Delman trying to protect Amo to keep them away from her, thinking it's his wife. Rudo is protecting Amo, thinking it's Chiwa, and preventing those guys from the sphere from getting her. And then we don't see Rio. We don't actually get an idea of if Rio thinks that Amo is someone from her past that she's in love with. We don't get any understanding of what that is. I feel like they're saving Rio's story for later, so we'll find that out then. And then Folo, we see him, but we don't exactly know, like, who his person was either. Thankfully, Gris is okay, and Tome was smart enough to put the damn mask on. Like, good for Tome. I'm glad that Tome was like, I got this. Tome is freaking MVP of the episode. Not only did she do first aid to Engine, which Engine, they had the spell, so we're going to talk about that. I completely forgot about it. I think with Engine, I forgot about it. I'm going to walk you all through my thought process on that, because I was like Zanka. I forgot about Rimland's spells on all of them. I was so focused on Rudo that I forgot about everybody else. And then also my definition of hit is a little different than the show's. So there's that. But then, yeah, Tome, like, not only helped Engine keep him covert until he was ready to strike and take the boots off of Amo, but also she was, like, the first person to sit down with Amo and try to talk to her. And we're going to talk about that and all of that. But, yeah, and get into that. So, yeah. And then I just freaking love Tamsy. Tamsy is like, sorry, guys. I'm going to ask that you forgive me. So Tokushin is Tamsy's vital instrument. My only regret in this battle is that we did not get to see a staff off between Zanka and Tamsy, because both of them having like the two staffs and the blue in their patterns. Chef's kiss. Love it. I'm a sucker for a decorated staff, and Tamsy's is so freaking cool. So yeah, we see these bandits coming on, and he's like, don't hurt her. So they end up killing her, and that's really sad. But yeah, Tamsy's like, look, I'm going to tie y'all up, and we're going to go from there. I freaking love it. So the fact that Folo gets the yellow, look, here's the thing. We haven't gotten the color yellow with the givers yet, so there's a good chance Folo is going to become a giver, because you have Rio with the green, Zanka with the blue, you have Engine with the orange, Rudo with the red. Purple is reserved for, we'll get into this, but yeah, we don't have yellow. So Folo, you could fit into the rainbow. Yeah. So yeah, Delman has blue water hose. I want to say Simiyu has gold. Yeah, but Simiyu has yellow, but you know, Folo can fit right into that. But they all get tied up. Look, what Amo has done is really bad, and she is sinister, and she has a lot of issues. I feel a little more sympathetic to her only because she clearly has some mental health issues. Like, there's something mentally not stable about her at all. And I do feel like there is a difference. I mean, it's a very slippery slope. It's a very slippery slope. If people don't feel sorry for her, I don't blame them, because it's a slippery slope, because she did premeditate this attack. She did intend to attack them. It's just girl is not stable or all there at all. And there's a lot we don't know about her character, so it's kind of like you don't want to quite judge the horse before you learn where it came from sort of thing. So, but I mean, on the other hand, she's very dangerous. And she should be dealt with, and she should have to pay consequences for her actions, but I still feel sad for her. I feel like you can be mad at someone and what they do and how they attack others, but still feel sad for them and like kind of their circumstances. And this show is complicated enough and complex enough in its discussions of morally gray areas that I feel like that is warranted. I'm very frustrated when people paint things in like black and white standards, and I'm like, oh, no, my friends. The world is much more gray than that. You can't view things in absolute black and white. It just does not work, because there's too many gray areas, and I feel like Amo falls into that gray area. I do feel bad that she's like, look what you did in my room. She's like, do something. But yeah, the rope burn marks that they showed on Rio's legs, that was rough. That was rough. And Tamsy's like, how about we don't move? And he's like, sorry, guys. And Tamsy is interesting. I like Tamsy a lot. He's like, at the beginning, he's like, I hope that, tying you guys up and making y'all hurt would like snap you out of it, but I don't know if that's going to work. And so he's like, what can we do next? And she's like, are you going to keep experimenting on me? But to help Amo, they'll find a way to escape. She has like the goat pupils. Like if you've ever looked at a goat, they have the square pupils. She has goat eyes, girl. She's like, it's gonna get bloody. And he's like, no, my vital instrument's a distaff, so it's gonna, like, that's such a shot. I love that. And I love it's the same thread that's in, like, his silk coming off of his, like, the top of his hair there. Love it. I'm guessing they're extensions. Like, the silk is an extension. And then he brings them all together and winds them all back up. Love that. Love it so much. Good job, Tamsy. And Zanka's like, well, I didn't have to do much. So, okay. So he ties her up in the process. And he's like, well, what can we do to snap everybody out? And he's like, calling her cow is probably effective. You put some mental burden on our opponent. And so meanwhile, Tome, smartest girl in the series, she's got the gas mask on Engine. She's been over there taking care of things. She's on top of stuff. Like, go Tome, MVP. And Gris is like, thank God I didn't die in this episode. So yeah, I think that they were trying to fake the whole med team thing to try to throw off Amo so that she wouldn't attack Engine, because we need Engine to like deal the blow later on to her. But yeah, this is the thing too. She is a very, we're going to talk about Rudo's discussion about women and fighting back, because that is a very valid point. And I agree with Rudo on a lot of fronts with that. But there's context clues in what Amo says, and it makes me feel for her, because she says here, nobody's been rough with Amo in ages, meaning someone has been rough with her before. And I don't think it was like, kinky BDSM stuff. No, I think it was abuse. And I think that probably played into her mental decline. So I feel for her. Also, like her piercing with the stitches and everything. I don't know. I'm not big on the fan service. This part is obvious. I mean, she's dressed that way, so it has to be. And it kind of like lays her bare. So I do appreciate the symbolism of her being stripped bare and laid bare for us as the audience, like visually, because of the lack of clothing. I get what it symbolizes. There's one part in here that I'm like, you didn't need to do that. And it kind of takes away from what we get later on. But yeah, so she's screaming for them to help. I think it's interesting to note, Delman and Rudo have like the bloodshot eyes because they're like stressing out over the person they care about being attacked. Now, could it be that they're stressed that they have the red on their eyes because they were under Amo's influence longer than Folo and Rio? That's possible, but I think it's interesting that Folo and Rio don't have the same distress on their face as the others. And so then I like Tamsy. Like, Tamsy was assuming that maybe if he bound them all up, made Amo despair, and maybe possibly hurt her, that she would drop all the pretenses. That doesn't happen. Instead, they're trying to escape, and they're literally hurting themselves in the process. Like, there's blood splattering everywhere, and Tamsy's like, look, you guys are going to end up hurting yourselves through my ability if we don't do something. And he's like, this spell's only going to work once. So he's like, fine. But I want to say, Tamsy, for making the thing where he's like, enough. If you like her that much, then fine. And makes it like a giant spinning top that drills down like how many floors they went through. I didn't realize they went up so many floors to get to the top of the tower, or to where they are in the tower. I didn't realize that. Like, there's at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's like 7 or 8 floors on there, which is wild. And Zanka's like, what the hell? That dang metal spike sticking through Rudo. Oof. Because here's the thing. Tamsy is so smart, because they realized that, okay, nothing I do is going to work. So I need you maybe if I just kill him and use Rimlin's spell and bring him back, maybe if they get brought back, then it will undo Amo's ability. And if it doesn't, then at least they're on the 8th floor down and they've got to work their way, and that gives us some time to think of what to do. And it gave time for Engine to kind of figure out to get the boot away from Amo. So that was good. But the other thing was, I was like Zanka. I forgot about them all having the spells. We saw Rudo getting the spell put on him from Rimlin, and we didn't see anybody else. They just told us everybody else had the spell. So it's one of those like out of sight, out of mind things where you forget that everybody else had the spell and it wasn't just Rudo. But my other thing was, when I thought of one hit, I thought of like, you know, a zap or a karate chop or a kick to the gut or something. I didn't think about, you know, him getting impaled. So my view of what that looked like was very different. So that's interesting. Yeah, you went too damn far. Like, Folo, like, just, what? Like, them all falling down and then Tamsy being like, do you not remember that Rimlin put the spell on all of them? We should be good. And so for Hatsi, he's like, I think that's handled. I think that'll do. And Zonka's like, well, you killed your own people. And for a second, the show makes us think that Tamsy is working for Amo, because when he turns around, when she starts cackling, and she's like, see, this is what happens when people don't talk to Amo. Your true nature shows itself even when you try to hide it. And they're all on death's door because you're so awful. And yeah, when he turned around like that, I was like, does that mean Tamsy's been under her power this whole time? But surely not, because he doesn't act like he's trying to protect her. And then he's like, did you forget the thing? He's like, you did. They're allowed to reduce damage from one hit, even if it's a fatal one. They conveniently didn't say even if it was a fatal one. They just said reduce damage from one hit. They left out that whole from a fatal one in the previous episode. So I was like, oh, well, that's good. That's good. And everybody's like, oh, look, we heal each other. He's like, remember? We all got spells drawn on us. So technically, and Rimlin's just like, hey. Love that. Love that Rimlin's like, that was on me. Thank you. You're welcome. MVP. So technically, Gris, Tome, Zanka, and Tamsy have not been hit, so they technically still have a shot. They're good. So Gris would have been fine anyway. He would have died anyway. Good for Gris. Yay. Now, Engine had gotten hit, so that would have been him. And then that's when Engine's like, look, I got your boot. So this was the part I was thinking of. He's like, that's it. We're all fine. Yeah, including me. And he's like, see, I'll be taking these boots if you please. Yep. We're going to talk about Engine a little bit more here. Meanwhile, before we go back to Amo's power dispersing, we have Simiyu. And Simiyu looking at the file for Rudo. Now, I can't translate everything that's on the page here, but we do find out that he is around. Oh, there we go. Oh, it does look like, yeah. So name, Rudo. Oh, the letters are kind of reversed. Age, around 15. Height, so 153 centimeters, which is not very tall. Birth is July 20th. Oh, so he's a Cancer, on the cusp of Cancer and Leo. Ooh, what a combo. And then can't read the rest. I can make out a few words, but not the rest. If any of you all can digest what that says, I see the 3R. But if any of you all can translate that and let me know in the comments, that would be amazing, because it's making my head hurt looking at it. Okay. And so then ye old boss, he gives her the sucker saying, I hope they got info about the border, giving her the sweets, sugar daddy. And she's like, I'm sure that won't be a problem. Well, we'll see about that. And it's basically about Rudo. So Simiyu's like, look, what did you see when you laid eyes on Rudo? And we're going to go back to that here in a second, because it's going to come out when he starts beating her up. So he's like, it ticks me off when people only wear one sock. Really? Do most people wear more than one sock, Engine? I feel like people wear at least one sock normally. This is what I'm talking about. He's like, you're not wearing socks at all. Like, that shot there is fan service, and thanks, I hate it. I don't like fan service that sexualizes women. I'm just like, please stop. Please stop. We don't see Gris with his chesticles out getting oiled up in front of us. So no, that's not, I don't like it. I'm like, her dress could cover up her ass if it, because it has before in the series. So I know that a mangaka is a woman, but that doesn't mean that they're not immune to doing these tendencies with shonen of stereotypically sexualizing women, because that's happened for decades in shonen. And I hate that if she feels the need to do that to try to make sales, I hate that. So I would like to give the show more benefit of the doubt than that, but it's not a good look. It's not cute. So she's like, give it back to me. And he's like, so those boots clearly mean a lot to her. And that was my dumpster fire for the episode, by the way. That one shot pissed me off, but I was like, it's fine. It was one shot. It's an emblematic problem. It's a symptom of a larger sickness in shonen that is from the 90s and early 2000s that we should be past by now because it's, 2026. But girl, get your bag. So anyway, we have this whole concept that the boots belong to whoever she loves. And he takes a whiff of them, which, God, why would you do that? But the point is that she loves whoever gave her the boots. So she has a crush on whoever gave her the boots. Whether that might be Rudo's dad or not, we don't know. Maybe we'll find out. But yeah. And I like that Gris is like, so has Injin been fine this whole time? And Tom's like, yep, he was playing possum. And Gris is like, okay, well, that's fair enough. So if you return everybody normal, I'll give them back. And she's like, well, I can't use my power with just one. So the moment she uses... So that is good to know, because the moment she loses one boot, the power is null and void. To me, that suggests if Rudo loses one of his gloves, he's not going to be able to use his powers. I don't know if that's going to be true or not, but if it was the same with the boots, I would assume it's going to be the same with the gloves. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, everyone won't protect Amo now. I just feel bad for Delman. Like, this part here, where he asks, what have I been doing? And Tamsy's like, hey, you're back. And he's like, Rimlin did good work. And he's like, Tamsy and Zanka, what happened back there? And he's like, you're back in your right mind. You're affected by Amo's power. A smell that makes you remember happy times with someone you love. She used it to make you think that she was that person. The look on his face... The betrayal on his face that woman made him think that his wife was still alive. Ooh, that is ooh. You could feel his heart break all over again. It was quite difficult. Yeah. She hasn't come back to life after all. Like him grabbing the ground and breaking it beneath him. And that's when Zonka's like, there's something nasty about her power. All the more for those who have lost someone important to them. The richer your memories are of those happy times, the harsher the reality is to return to. Now, again, we don't know with Folo and Rio. I mean, Zanka, this series has some unreliable narrators in it, so we can't quite trust that everything Zanka says is at face value. We can't go past face value with anything anybody says until we get confirmation from the show, because we've had some unreliable narration in this series so far, to say the least. So Zanka assumes when he looks at Folo and Rio that they're like Delman, and that these happy memories means it's harsh to come back to reality. But because we don't see Rio's expression or Folo's expression, we don't know exactly if that was the case or not. We don't know. Like I said, I don't know if we'll find out with Folo. I feel like they're saving Rio's story for later. We're just getting like a little IV drip for now. Nasty as hell. But again, we don't get much with Rudo in all this until this point here. And so everybody has their masks on. And they're like, even if we give up on getting the info and leave, she's too dangerous. We can't leave her out here. But outside of her instrument, she's just a normal, ordinary, powerless girl. And I'd feel weird about taking the instrument that means so much to her. So, I mean, she clearly... aside from the boots, I mean, they say that she's powerless, which the boots really are her power. If she didn't have the boots, she'd just be this mentally unstable girl that's, like, kind of distraught and isolated. But I do appreciate that they talk about that the instruments, they don't feel comfortable taking the vital instruments from that person, which is good to note because that would kind of make them all, it would say a lot to them because they all rely upon those vital instruments and they all have bonds with those instruments. So they know how closely attached they get. So to take a vital instrument from someone, they would definitely understand why that would feel like horrifying. So I feel it's interesting to see them kind of negotiate that and decide what they're going to do about it. But yeah, he's like, well, because he goes, just try and convince her not to hurt anyone. And she's like, really? Which I do appreciate Amo saying that she's like, really? She's like, you guys. And again, Amo should not have attacked them. She should not have gone as far as she did. She did something horrible, and I'm not excusing what she did, but, roads have two ways, and they did come to her just to use her for information without even, trying to get to know her. You could say that she tricked them from the start, sure, but maybe it could have been different. Who knows? It's interesting to note that. My whole house is ruined. Doesn't anyone feel guilty? And Rudo's like, nope, I don't feel guilty, actually. And again, I don't think that they should feel guilty for wrecking her house because she attacked them and that's what caused the house to get wrecked in the first place. I don't think that they should feel guilty about that at all. But I do think that them coming to get information from her and the way they handled it could have been better from the start. And maybe some of this could have been avoided, but maybe not. Maybe she was always going to do that. But Rudo's just like, well, F it. Here's the thing about Rudo that's interesting. I've seen a lot of people in my time, but what I saw in Rudo, I've never seen before. It's not just his gloves. What's unusual about him. Yeah. And he's just pissed. Very much so. That punch in the face, Jesus, that was visceral. That was brutal. That was a lot. I guess we should talk about Rudo. We're going to talk about it a little bit more when him and Engine are talking, but Rudo has anger issues. He always has. And I feel like there are probably people who can relate to him and his anger issues. And so I appreciate as a protagonist that he's not a self-righteous person is the best way I can phrase it. Because sometimes I appreciate it on two fronts. One, he's not self-righteous where he's just like, I've got all this anger and I'm just going to use it on people but I'm a hero and that's what I do and da-da-da. No, Rudo feels bad as soon as his episode is over. He has this moment of rage. He's like a volcano that erupts. And then once he calms down, he's like, shit, I shouldn't have done that. And he immediately is self-aware and regrets it. But the other thing I appreciate is that they don't view his violence and anger outbursts as a good thing because they're not really. I mean, if you think this is a badass moment of him beating the snot out of this person, then sure. But then also you recognize that it was a mistake. He shouldn't have done that because how are they going to get the info out of her now? And Tome has to heal her and be kind to her to get the info out of her. So punching the shit out of her wasn't going to do anything to get you what you wanted. But you just he needed that moment to vent, but then he gets nothing from it. And that's how that works. If you vent that anger, you get nothing from it. But I like that the series recognizes Rudo as having these anger issues and that he's trying to deal with it and he's not perfect and it's a struggle and it's a step-by-step thing and I appreciate the show works us through that. But if you think this is a great badass moment, then you might have some issues that you need to work through because this is not good. Everyone's like, like they let him go in that moment, but this is not we shouldn't be we're not meant to view Rudo in this moment as doing something that's good. This is him having a lot of darkness in him. There's something growing inside of him. Put it simply, it's something like a curse. Something that could destroy the world. And it's this hatred. He has this darkness and hatred inside of him that he has a lot of anger issues dealing with. And I appreciate that the show doesn't sugarcoat it. like, oh, it's a phase, or oh, you got little anger issues, it's all right. No, the show treats it as something very serious, and Rudo realizes it's something very serious. But I like how they approach with him and Injin having the conversation about how to deal with it, and like that Rudo's not a bad person because he's got flaws. Because, yeah, no, he's not. But, and they're like, calm down. And then I like that they try to walk him through. They're like, hey, we can cancel her ability. We know how. And Gris is like, you didn't need to punch the snot out of her. Now, to Rudo's point, I think that it's a complicated situation because like Gris says when he starts out, he's like, hey, we know how to cancel out her ability. We all have our masks on. We're trying to get information out of her. So we understand why you're mad. We are too. But we came here on a mission. We got to see it through. Part of being an adult is you got to work through some of that and figure out what your give and take is. He's like, we didn't have to beat the snot out of her. That's not going to help us get that info. Where I disagree with Gris and where I get on Rudo's side and when he's like, oh, besides, she's a girl. And he's like, and I like his blood boiling. He's like, just because she's a woman, I'm not allowed to hold back. Because she's a woman, I'm supposed to shut up and let her kill people I care about. I love that representation of like the monster in him with like the things there. He's like, I can't do that. And Gris is like, well, that's not what I meant. And he's like, you're beating up on someone powerless. And he's like, well, powerless my ass. She's a giver. And she tricked us and almost got us killed. However, she looks on the outside. Inside, she was laughing at us and stomping down on us. And Rio, look at there. Rio being a focal point there is so interesting because I feel in my heart of hearts, I feel like she's going to be somebody that's been abused, and it's going to be that this whole conversation is going to get called into question with her later on, and we're going to have another discussion of it. I do think that with Gris and Rudo's conversation, here's the deal. In the battle that they were just in, yeah, she's not powerless. Yeah, you should be able to fight her. That whole, oh, don't hit her because she's a girl. If she's fighting you, yeah, fight back. Defend yourself. Like, do that, you know? Yes, absolutely. But just, that in itself is feminism. People on this channel, a lot of times, I think that they just aren't educated in what feminism is, and they're just like, well, that's, no, feminism is equality amongst genders. Equality amongst sexes. That's what it is. As someone who has studied it, pointing to myself for like 2 years in grad school, that's what it is. There's different waves of it, and a lot of people reference like the waves from the 60s and stuff, but that was freaking 50 years ago. Like, you got to modernize. So I just know. But at the same time, what Gris is getting at is, yeah, you can fight her just because she's a woman. You can fight her. She's a threat. She's dangerous. Yes, we needed to get her to where she was isolated, but it's complicated than just fighting someone and beating the shit out of them. It's complicated because we have to get information from her to help you get what you want. She's the only one with that knowledge. And when he talks about her being powerless, he's talking about now in this moment, not 20 minutes ago when she most certainly was not powerless and you all were in trouble. He's talking about right now. Like, they've already defeated her. It's kind of like beating a dead horse. You've already defeated her. She can't do anything anymore. We've got the situation under control. Walking up and just waylaying on her does nothing except hurt us because that's our source of information that you're potentially preventing from giving us the info. And that's when Injin comes in and he's like, hey, I see your thought process. I see what you're thinking, kid. But how do we get that info? Now that you've knocked her unconscious and beat her senseless, how are we getting that information? Because wasn't that what we came here for? Isn't that what you need in this moment, is that information? Wasn't that the whole point of all this? And I love the moment that Rudo, his eyes widen and he's like, oh, and he realizes what he did. He realizes what he did. That he's potentially ruined that chance. To get, they went through all this trouble. They went through all this battle. They used Rimlin's spell that Rimlin put on them. And it all might be for nothing because of his anger and his outburst and because he couldn't control himself. And the way that they animate him reacting is so good. And he looks to, the way he looks to Injun is like a little kid looking up to their parent, like, I didn't know that was what do I do now? Mm-hmm. And he's like, let's go have a little chat. I love that it looks like him and Gris are like Rudo's dads. I love it. I love that him and Gris just look like Rudo's dads. He's like, let's go this way. Let's have a little talk. He's like, let's go over here where it's a little easier. He's like, you guys just take care of things, get her patched up. We're going to have a little conversation. I love this. Everything about this scene, everything about this conversation, everything about their discussion, I absolutely love. This feels like Mufasa taking Simba after the elephant graveyard scene in The Lion King. This feels like, except Zazu is the umbrella. Zazu's the umbrella. It feels like he's taking like Simba out and he's like, so let's have a chat under the stars. Only this time it's at the bottom of a tower. And Rudo just kind of like shuts in on himself like a little kitten. He's just like there. And you can see like in this moment, he's waiting for Injun to yell at him. He's waiting for Injun to say something, and Injun's just letting him soak it in. I feel like Injun is not only letting the moment soak and letting Rudo calm down, but he's also like feeling out like, how do I want to phrase this? How do I want to tell? Like he's almost letting Rudo have the first chance to say something. And that's when Rudo's like, aren't you going to say anything? And he's like, well, it looks like you figured out what was going on already. You got emotional and forgot why we came here. And Rudo's like, the whole time I was in this sphere, I always had to take it. No matter what they said, I had to hold in my temper and endure it. But when they sent me to the ground, I realized that if I tried to hold it in, I'd lose. And just now I realized I've gone back to how I was. He's like, I've been trying to make progress, and I've been trying to mature, and I've been trying to channel my anger productively, like through the gloves and through everything. He's like, but what I just did was I had this outburst like I used to do on the sphere. And the thing that gets me is that I love Rudo because he's self-aware. He's like, I know why Regto was trying to tell me to hold it in, because he knew that if I was destructive and had these outbursts, I could possibly hurt myself, or they'd chuck me into the ground. And that ended up happening anyway, but he didn't want that to happen in the first place. And he's like, now I've let this outburst happen and I'm right back to where I started because it prevented me from getting what I needed. The version of me before I learned patience, who just hit the people around me with all the darkness welling up inside of me. I love this idea that, again, we go back to these hands that are bandaged up. I don't know if whatever has happened to his hands is tied to that darkness inside of him, if that's gonna be tied to him, and that's why, if it's like some kind of ritual or some kind of ability or something. I'm gonna be so curious what we get out of that, but it's so refreshing to see a protagonist that has all this darkness in them that is self-aware and trying to manage it. But I haven't really changed. Above or below, any growth I've gone through has been an illusion. I'm just a shitty little brat. I hate that Rudo... I love that Rudo's self-aware, but I hate that he thinks so little of himself. And he doesn't think he's grown at all, because we've seen the growth that he's had. Like, and I love the lesson in it that you can have growth, but you can also relapse. Like, people do that all the time. Like, you're not always going to be perfect, and it's not going to be like a perfect development. And so the engine comes out here, and he's like, well, for me, he's like, I like hot ladies. And at first I was like, where are you going with this, sir? He's like, I like... And then Rudo's like, what? Rudo's like, hot ladies? What are you talking? Like his little innocent bean face. He's like, smarter than me, with curves and sex appeal and a forgiving personality. So does he like Simiyu? Does he have a thing for Simiyu? Because Simiyu is curvy and smart and sex appeal and seems forgiving of his ridiculousness. So does he like Simiyu? Is that what he's establishing? Yep. With a forgiving personality. But what does he say there? I love them so damn much, But ladies and kids with complicated needs, I have a lot more trouble with. So, I mean, he's admitting his faults where he's at. He's like, I have all these appeals, but I also don't know how to deal with the baggage and the things that go with them. He's like, I don't know how to deal with that. I don't know what to do with that. And so he's like, that's not a thing women are happy to hear. So Injun's saying, he's like, I love women and I love these beautiful women and I love them so damn much. But the moment they start, revealing that, if they have kids or if they have complications to their life, he's like, I don't really care about any of that. So I guess Injun's kind of saying he's a womanizer a little bit and that he has no interest in like forming deep relationships with these women and they're not excited to hear that. And he's like, I know that's my fault. And it's not exactly like Rudo's anger issues, but I think he's showing Rudo. I like the idea that Injun is a flawed mentor. He's showing Rudo, he's like, I know I've got flaws too, but we all have flaws. We all have parts of us that we think are ugly and parts of us that we think are a detriment to us moving forward. And he's like, and I can't change. And so he's like, I know how you feel having this be an issue. He's like, the fact that I can't hide that stuff is one of my bad traits. I love that. I love that he shows Rudo. He's like, your anger issues are your bad trait. My like fickle womanizing is my bad trait. And I can't be committed in a relationship. So he's like, see, he's like, we all got issues. He's like, even we adults have tons of crap we need to grow out of. And if you want to grow, that realization is the thing you really need. I love Rudo's face in this. And then he says, I was brought face to face with my faults ages ago. So someone had to tell Injun about his faults. He's like, you found them on your own. Which means we've got nowhere to go but up. And they're at the bottom of the tower with all of this being said. I love that. I love Injun being this flawed mentor for Rudo because that's exactly what he needs. Someone he can relate to that can give him that advice and that experience. Look, Injun, if your fault are sexy women that are non-committing, maybe you need to just broaden your horizons. Maybe you should broaden your horizons. Maybe you should be a pansexual icon. Can you do that? Yeah. Oh. Let's go apologize together later. I love that. I almost want that to be the thumbnail. I love that so much. That's such a good shot. Oh, it feels very Mufasa and Simba. It makes me worried for Injun. I don't want death flags on this man. Nope, he's too perfect. Do not. And so then Tome's one that's like, I'm sorry, we didn't mean to take it so far. And her taking the mask off, being like, I'm happy to talk as much as you like, if you don't mind me. And she's like, I love talking about romance too. Like freaking Tome, she could be a psychiatrist. She's got this on lock. She's like, you'd make a good mom. And she's like, oh, do you think? Like she's doing all the psychoanalytics right here. She's like, my mom was a good mom too. And my mom is the reason I met my first love. So then she said, and that I got my treasure. So I'm guessing that the boots are from her first love. And I saw the angel that goes between the sphere and the ground. That's a very pertinent piece of information. What angel? What angel between the sphere and the ground? Also, in the OP, there's a freaking angel. So there's a headless angel in the OP. So we're getting it. We're getting it together, y'all. And she's like, oh, the angel, the sphere and the ground. More on that, please. And she's like, Grist, what did she just say? We need to write this down. Yep. Isn't there an angel in the OP? Real quick. There is, in fact, an angel statue. Yep. Is it in a tower too? Maybe. Interesting indeed. Interesting indeed. But yeah, so I love this episode so much. It's so good. I knew it was going to be a 3-parter. I was like, it's going to be a 3-parter. They're going to do that to us. But I'm so excited about that. So, I am really curious to see what we get from Amo in the next episode and what we find out about this angel between the sphere and the ground. But I'll be good. I'll wait, maybe. Maybe I'll wait to watch the next episode. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. Oh, it's going to be hard to wait. It's going to be so hard to wait, y'all. But anyway, I'm excited to hear your thoughts down below. I freaking love Engine. I love Rudo. I'm so excited to see where this goes. But we're going to talk more about that. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts down below. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more of Gachiakuta. And I'll see you then. Bye.